Welcome to our chilling haunted walking tour of Leavenworth, Kansas, where history meets the supernatural. Across the country, towns hide places steeped in ghostly lore and paranormal intrigue. In this video, we explore 4 of Leavenworth's most haunted spots. However, there's a twist. Only 3 of these locations are genuinely haunted. The 4th is a tale crafted by us at Wandering Walks of Wonder. As you join us on this journey, your challenge is to figure out which 3 locations harbor real hauntings and which one is our creation. Stick around until the end of the video where we'll reveal which of Leavenworth's haunted locations is pure fiction. Today's journey takes us to 4 locations in Leavenworth: the Santa Fe Depot, the Carroll Mansion, the High Noon Saloon, and the C.D. Parker Carousel Museum. So, if you dare, let's explore the chilling tales behind Leavenworth's most haunted places. Our first stop in haunted Leavenworth takes us to the Santa Fe Depot. This is an old and historically significant building that has been the subject of numerous ghost stories and paranormal encounters over the years. Built in 1887, the depot was once a bustling transportation hub during the height of the railroad era, and its long history has made it a hotspot for ghostly activity. Here are some of the most well-known ghost stories associated with the Santa Fe Depot. First are those mysterious shadow figures that people see. One of the most common paranormal sightings at the Santa Fe Depot involves shadowy figures that appear to move about the old train platform and inside the building. Visitors and employees have reported seeing dark, human-like shapes out of the corner of their eyes, but when they turn to look, the figures vanish. These shadowy apparitions are often seen late at night or in the early morning hours when the depot is quiet. Some speculate that these shadows may be the spirits of former travelers or workers who spent a great deal of time at the depot in its heyday. One of the more unusual stories linked to the Santa Fe Depot is that of the legend of a phantom train. Some locals claim that on certain foggy nights, the sound of a train whistle can be heard in the distance, even though no train is scheduled to arrive or depart and hasn't for many years once this depot was closed and became a restaurant. Witnesses have also reported hearing the sound of an approaching train, the clattering of wheels on the tracks, and the screeching of brakes, all sounds that evoke the image of a train pulling into the depot. However, when people look for the source of the noise, no train is ever seen, and the train tracks now today are miles away. There are also stories of a railroad worker who is said to haunt the Santa Fe Depot. According to legend, this worker may have died in a tragic accident involving the trains, or even during the depot's construction back in 1887. Visitors have reported seeing a man dressed in an old railroad worker attire who walks along the tracks or stands near the depot, only to disappear when approached. Some believe his spirit continues to haunt the area, replaying the moments before his untimely death. And then finally we have the lady in the waiting room. Another ghost story tied to the Santa Fe Depot involves the apparition of a woman seen sitting inside the restaurant, which was once the waiting room for passengers. This ghostly figure is described as being dressed in early 20th century clothing, possibly from the 1920s or 1930s. Witnesses claim that she appears to be waiting for a train, often looking anxious or even sad. Some believe she may be the spirit of a woman who was waiting for a loved one who never arrived, perhaps due to a tragic accident, and her spirit is still waiting for a reunion that will never come. Our next stop of our haunted tour of Leavenworth, Kansas is the Carroll Mansion. This is a historic Victorian-era home that has become well known for its beauty, rich history, and eerie ghost stories. Built in 1858 and expanded in the late 19th century, the mansion has served as a private residence, a hospital during the Civil War, and now functions as a museum. Over the years, many people have reported experiencing strange paranormal activity in the mansion, adding to its reputation as one of the most haunted locations in Leavenworth. Here are some of the ghost stories tied to the Carroll Mansion. One of the most commonly reported spirits in the mansion is believed to be Mrs. Julia Carroll, the last private owner of the home. After her death in 1969, many believe that her spirit never truly left the house. Visitors and museum staff have reported seeing an apparition of a woman in period clothing wandering through the halls of the mansion. Some believe this is the ghost of Mrs. Carroll, who loved her home and continues to watch over it even in death. One of the most frequently reported paranormal occurrences in the Carroll Mansion involves the sound of footsteps echoing through the halls, especially on the grand staircase. These footsteps are often heard when no one is around or during late hours when the museum is closed. Staff members and visitors alike have described hearing the distinct sound of heavy boots or shoes walking up and down the stairs, as though someone from the past is still roaming the house. Many speculate that these footsteps could belong to former residents or workers from the mansion's long history. And then we have those haunted dolls and objects in the house. The Carroll Mansion houses many artifacts and antiques from the Victorian era, including old furniture, photographs, and dolls. Some visitors have reported strange occurrences involving these items, particularly the dolls. A few have claimed to see the dolls' eyes move or feel as though the dolls were watching them as they walked through the rooms. And others have reported objects being moved or misplaced, as if the spirits in the house are interacting with the artifacts. And then the final story associated with the Carroll Mansion is the mysterious piano music that's often heard. There have been reports of ghostly piano music heard throughout the mansion, even though no one is playing the instrument. This soft, haunting music has been heard coming from the parlor area, where a piano sits as part of its historic collection. Many speculate that the ghostly tunes are connected to the original owners, or maybe former residents who had a love for music and continue to play in the afterlife. Our third stop on our eerie tour of Leavenworth, Kansas is the old High Noon Saloon. This building has earned a reputation for being haunted due to its long history in one of the oldest towns in Kansas. Leavenworth itself is known for historic sites, and many buildings are believed to have ghostly residents, including the High Noon Saloon, which primarily serves as a bar and restaurant. There are several ghost stories and paranormal encounters associated with the location, adding to its eerie charm. Some of those ghost stories include the spirit of a former patron. One of the most frequently told ghost stories involves the spirit of a man believed to be a former regular at the saloon. This ghostly figure has been spotted sitting at the bar or one of the tables, quietly enjoying his time, as if he were still alive. Patrons and staff have reported seeing a man dressed in older style clothing sitting alone, but when approached, he vanishes into thin air. Many speculate he could be the ghost of someone who frequented the saloon decades ago and often returns to his favorite spot in the afterlife. And then there are numerous reports of disembodied voices and unexplained laughter coming from different parts of the saloon, especially during the off hours. Staff members have heard conversations or laughter when the building is empty, as if ghostly patrons are still enjoying a lively night out. These sounds are typically described as very faint, but distinct enough to make people believe there's someone nearby. Both visitors and staff to the High Noon Saloon have reported objects moving seemingly on their own. Many have seen glasses sliding across the bar and chairs have been shifted from their original position, even when no one is in the room. Some believe the playful spirits enjoy rearranging things or interacting with the physical environment. And then finally, we have the phantom bartender. There are several stories of a ghostly bartender who is said to continue his duties even after death. Patrons and employees have reported seeing a shadowy figure behind the bar as if preparing drinks or cleaning up. This apparition is described as a male figure dressed in old-time bartender attire, but when approached or observed closely, the figure seems to disappear into thin air. Some believe that the spirit could be a former bartender who worked at the saloon many years ago and still takes pride in maintaining the space. Our final stop on our tour of haunted Leavenworth, Kansas is the C.W. Parker Carousel Museum. This is a unique and charming museum dedicated to the preservation of historic carousels and their art. The museum houses an impressive collection of antique carousel animals, equipment, and memorabilia with a focus on the works of C.W. Parker, a renowned carousel builder. While the museum is known for its colorful and historical exhibits, there are several ghost stories and paranormal tales associated with this location. One of the most commonly reported paranormal phenomenon at the museum involves the sound of carousel music playing on its own. Staff and visitors have occasionally heard the faint, nostalgic tunes of a carousel organ even when no one is around operating the equipment. The eerie music often starts unexpectedly and can be heard coming from various parts of the museum, even when the museum is closed. Some believe that the music is a lingering echo from the past, possibly from a carousel that was once a centerpiece of the museum's collection. And then there are reports of seeing ghostly figures of people dressed in vintage clothing associated with the carousel's heyday. These apparitions are often described as appearing in or around the carousel exhibits dressed in early 20th century attire. Witnesses have seen these figures moving or standing near the carousels, seemingly enjoying the exhibits or thinking about a time when the carousels were actively in use. Some staff members and visitors have reported witnessing carousel animals moving or shifting positions on their own. These movements are often subtle, such as a slight turn of the head or maybe just a little shift in a position, but they are enough to catch the eye of someone watching. These occurrences are usually attributed to the spirits of those who once worked on or even enjoyed the carousels, playfully interacting with the exhibits. And then our final ghost story here at the Carousel Museum, as well as in Leavenworth, is that of the spirit of a carousel craftsman. Some believe that the spirit of a former carousel craftsman, perhaps one of C.W. Parker's own workers, still lingers in the museum. This ghostly presence is said to be drawn to the carousel exhibits where they may have spent their working hours. There are reports of seeing shadowy figures or feeling a presence near the carousel restoration areas that are sometimes attributed to this spirit. Now that we have seen 4 of the haunted locations in Leavenworth, Kansas, remember, you had a challenge ahead of you. 3 of these locations are truly haunted, and 1 is the creation of us here at Wandering Walks of Wonder. Remember, we saw 4 locations: the Santa Fe Depot, the Carroll Mansion, the High Noon Saloon, and the Carousel Museum. Can you guess which one of these is a creation of Wandering Walks of Wonder, or which 3 are truly haunted in Leavenworth, Kansas? We'll pause here now for you to pause and think about it, and we'll come back with what the answer is. If you guessed that the haunted stories that we told about the C.W. Parker Museum were those made up by us here at Wandering Walks of Wonder, then you are correct. We hope you've enjoyed this Wandering Walks of Wonder haunted tour here in Leavenworth, Kansas. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you on our next Wandering Walks of Wonder or Wandering Walks of Wonder haunted tour. Take care now. Bye-bye.